Forest of Suicides. Aokigahara Forest is located in Japan at the foot of Mount Fuji. It is nicknamed the Forest of Suicides. Every year, police patrols find several dozen dead Japanese there. The suicides in this place were probably started by a book by the writer Seicho Matsumoto. The end of the novel, Nami no 2, is about two people who are unhappily in love and commit suicide in that very forest. The forest is so big that the police don't even have time to take the dead people down from the trees where people usually hang themselves and bury them. If you were to take a trip to Aokigahara, you'd probably come across a few decomposing corpses. It is said that the spirits of the dead move in the forest, and people who decide to go there can hear their voices. Island of the Dolls. Isla de las Muñecas is located just a few kilometers from Mexico City, but you can find the island under the name Doll Island. The caretaker there, Julian Santana Barrera, one day found a dead girl in the lake. A doll was swimming next to her. He believed that her soul had moved into the doll. He hung a small toy on a tree to appease the dead child's soul. He then hung the whole island with a large number of different dolls. He believed they would drive evil spirits away from the island. In 2001, people found Julian dead in the same place he found the girl. Since then, the island has become a tourist attraction for diehards. Paris Catacombs. Have you ever thought that Paris is not just a beautiful and romantic city with the Eiffel Tower? Catacombs run under the entire city, where several million people are buried. Around the 18th century, cemeteries in the city began to overflow. As a result, various infections began to spread, threatening the lives of the inhabitants. This was the reason why catacombs began to be built under the city, where human remains were cleaned up. They consisted of various tunnels and paths. Some of them are open. Some visitors swore they saw ghosts of the dead there and heard strange noises. Waverly Hills Sanatorium. A sanatorium in Kentucky was primarily used to treat tuberculosis patients. It was founded in 1910 when tuberculosis was a much more widespread disease than it is today. The treatment of the sick was very neglected here. Many of them were even experimented with in different ways. It is not surprising that around 63,000 hospitalized patients died during the time when the hospital was still operating. The desperate cries of dead patients are said to still be heard in this old building. Dark silhouettes of figures have been seen several times in the corridors. Only the very brave would dare to enter these spaces today. Sedlaka Kosnice. The ossuary in Sedlec near Kutna Hora is part of the All Saints Cemetery Chapel. The ground floor is dedicated to several tens of thousands of dead people. According to legend, an abbot from Jerusalem brought a handful of clay and sprinkled it around the monastery cemetery. Since then, all people wanted to be buried there. During plagues and Hussite attacks, the city had many dead who are buried right there. In the 16th century, a monk decided to assemble pyramids from piles of bones. Another 2 centuries later, master builder František Rint decided to use the bones to decorate the chapel, which is truly spectacular. Here you can find various ornaments assembled from once living beings. When you enter the interior of the chapel, you may feel a wave of negative energy, which will definitely not make you feel good.